you guys' fault or whatever. Sorry about it, because you guys are being held up by literally my blood pressure machine. But story time. 2 weeks ago, tomorrow it'll be 2 weeks. Yeah, tomorrow it'll be 2 weeks that it happened. So as you saw in my last video, me with a neck brace. So I'm gonna tell you about what happened in that story as I fold, I guess, because gotta fold, gotta do something productive, right? A mom, pastor, I have work later on, I gotta go to the gym, all this other stuff. Anyway, so that night, it was a Tuesday night. Okay, let's start from the beginning. So the church, my church, our church, the Pastors United Church, Youth for Christ Ministry, Jóvenes para Cristo. Grateful and blessed to have it. Let me try to flip on this side. Let me just focus on y'all. Okay. God gave us a land, and that land that he had given us, we have been building like kind of like it's not a structure. Well, it is. It's like a tarp stuff that it's something that we're allowed to have on the land until we actually have the actual building. So as we're putting this up, we have a 200-pound tarp. It's really heavy. And what it does is that, it serves as like a kind of like a structure overhead so that we're not like rained on or anything like that. So they were putting it on, but like one of the support beams for the structure wasn't planted down on the ground because that day and the day before they were fixing some of the part of the structure. So we saw a couple of days before that the rain was getting into the tarp, so the tarp would like sink in or whatever. So what we did was that we made kind of like a squeegee kind of board kind of thing that we can take, it's kind of like a tool we made. We could take the water out of the tarp. And, I was like, okay, cool. So we were doing that, whatever. Well, that particular night, I was already at home, like about to go to sleep. And I didn't really think about it, to be honest. I don't even know what I was doing. I want to say that I was doing my notes because you guys know I'm a therapist, whatever. I want to say I was doing my notes because I usually have clients on a Monday. So I was, I was doing my notes or I was doing something. And the pastor calls me and says, hey, go check, the structure, the tarp, because, it's raining pretty bad. We had a tornado watch that night. And so I was like, okay, I got you. So I went. And, he was like, wait for me. And I went into the tarp. And as he was on his way to come and see what's going on, I went in because, we have that little squeegee tool. And I started taking the water out of the tarp. And I was like, oh man, this is not working. This is like a lot of water. So I went from the front of the tarp, which is what I was trying to take the water out from first, to the middle of it, because I was like, oh my gosh, wait, I should probably move it downwards because, the middle had a lot of water. Like I want to say maybe maybe 2 tubs of water. It was a lot of water. So as I'm sitting there and trying to take the water out of the middle of the tarp, the end of the tarp, because like you get an entrance and then you got another side, which was an exit to the tarp. And thankfully it wasn't like nailed to the walls or nothing, because then I was able to get out actually. But as you come inside, the first beam that was there wasn't, it was reinforced, but the second one on the other side was not. And I didn't even know that they didn't reinforce it yet. Otherwise, I would have never even started to try to take out the water because, that's dangerous. So as I'm taking the water out of the middle, which is the side that was not reinforced, the structure starts falling from the front to the back. And I hear the cracking of the wood, and I said, oh my gosh, I was like, nah, the lies you tell. So I start running. From the kind of like the middle of the structure to try to go to the back where there's these beams that they had in the middle that were pretty, I want to say like 8 or 9 2x4s put together, only because, you know, that's the part where it's reinforced, the big beams where all of the other poles or wood pieces are reinforced by. And the structure was pretty much reinforced by these big beams. Well, because the weight in the middle of the tarp was so heavy and it wasn't reinforced, that, you know, the front of the tarp didn't have anything to support it. So that beams, or the front of the tarp or the front of the structure, started falling. And that beam, I guess, started falling with it. And as I was running away to try to go through the back of the structure, that beam with the tarp, water, everything. So we have about 250 pounds of, you know, tarp, water, the beam, and it fell like right here in this area, my neck and my lower neck and my top of my back and my mid back. And I just felt like this. I was like, I don't know if you see me, but I was like this, fell flat. Thank God I fell in my hands. And you guys, it was scary. It's definitely not something that I want anybody to live. It's not something that I want to relive. I am grateful and thankful to God, and that I'm still alive, that, you know, nothing was fractured and nothing was broken. But as I'm under this beam and with this water in the tarp, if I didn't have, you know, training, and I'm going to say it like that, because if God didn't put me through the training in the military, if God didn't put me through, you know, the training that I had while I was a firefighter in the Navy, I would have never gotten out of there. I probably would have, you know, God forbid, drowned or something, because it was difficult. So I started bear crawling, or low crawling. So it's when you're crawling with your forearms on the ground. And that's what we used to do in our army training, our military training. And I, you know, since I was a first responder before, it was really easy to just be like, respond like that, you know, because that's what I did. I said, like, I'm not staying under here. I got to get out of here. So I was bear crawling out of this, you know, under the beam and the tarp and everything, as I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, because I was in so much pain. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know if something broke. I didn't know if, you know what I mean? If anything, like, I think that the hardest part wasn't, you know, if I broke something or if something happened, or, you know, all I kept on thinking was, why, God? Like, why did this, you know, structure fall? Like, all we're trying to do is do something for you, you know? And I think that was the hardest part for me, because we had been working already on this for 2 weeks. You know, I didn't even think about myself in that moment. And it was so difficult, because I started bear crawling out of there, and as I was crying, and I ran to my car. I ran to the passenger side of my car. Sorry, I didn't think I was gonna get choked up, but I ran to the passenger side of my car, and I started crying and screaming, and I said, why? And then I was in so much pain. I couldn't, like, everything felt numb. My arms were numb, my legs were numb, and I couldn't understand as to why, what was going on. And I was like, oh my goodness, please, God, let it not be something in my spine, because how am I going to praise dance to you? How am I going to, how would I then preach? You know, it was, all these things were happening in my mind, and this was like in a matter of seconds. And, I call the pastor as I'm screaming, and all of a sudden he's like, what is going on? What's going on? What happened? And I said to him, you know, the structure fell on me, the beam fell on me. And he was like, what? And he didn't fit in his mind. And so he was like, what are you talking about? And I said, the tarp fell. So he didn't really think what was happening with me. And so he was just upset, and he was like, I can't believe this. We've been working on this for 2 weeks. And I said, I know. And, I tried to calm him down, and he was still on his way. And so the thing that I thought of the quickest, the most, was because I was in so much pain, and nobody, like, not even my neighbors, as I'm screaming, nobody called 911. I decided not to call 911 because I don't know if you know, but I'm an Army veteran, or a military veteran, because I was in the Navy and the Army. And so for us, if we go to the emergency room, we have to go to the Veterans Affairs Hospital. So I just, if we call 911, that's like an $11,000 bill, because, the ambulance comes and gets you, and that's not covered. Well, the military, the VA covers it, but after a certain time. So I don't know what came through my mind, and I just put my car on cruise control and went to the hospital. As I'm going to the hospital, I'm just, crying and asking God, to help me get there, because like I said, I couldn't feel my arms. My legs were getting numb. I was thankful that, cruise control was invented. And if anybody knows me, knows that I hate cruise control. We can go on a 21-hour trip, and I never use cruise control. I like being able to have my foot on any pedal, gas, brake, because, when I was 21 or 20, almost 21, I got into a bad car accident. So I like being in control of the car, at all times. And that's another story time. So, yeah. So, I finally made it to the VA hospital, and I could hardly walk. Like, I was literally going inch by inch. And then the doctor was like, oh my goodness, what is going on? Like, I'm screaming at this point because I'm, going in there crying, screaming. And they put me in a wheelchair, and they said, this is a trauma. What are you doing? You should have called 911. I explained to them what happened, and they were like, this is crazy. They automatically and quickly moved. They put a neck brace on me. They put like a straight brace on my back, so that I don't have to, so that I'm just like this, so that if something, fractured or broke on my spine, I'd be okay if, God forbid, they had to repair it or whatever, and it didn't go further. So, they did a CT scan. They were doing a CT scan because the pastor didn't know what happened. And when he got to the land, I wasn't there. He didn't really, I guess he didn't capture in his mind. So he called me from every phone I think imaginable, because he called me from his phone, the church phone, everybody else's phone. And I couldn't pick up because I was in the CT scan. So I'm sitting there, and because the thing is that I took a picture of myself with the brace on and everything, and I sent it to him, which is what you guys saw in the previous video, in this video. And I was in so much pain, guys, like a pain that was, ugh. So what they did was that they gave me a shot of Toradol, and thank God, like, I have a lot of pains, from regular military life and all this other stuff. So for me, I have to take Motrin sometimes. And so that day, because we've been working for so long at the land, I usually have been taking Motrin. So I'm thankful that I took a Motrin before that even happened. Like I said, I was in my house, like chilling, about to go to sleep. So I wasn't in like excruciating pain where I'm like, after they gave me the Toradol, because that and the Motrin together was like life. It was great. It helped me not really have as much pain. I can still feel, my back pretty much, like the muscles felt like, ugh, it was so bad. And I told my wonderful FBBC family, which is Fit Body Bootcamp family, and they were so concerned, and I love them for that. And also my Inner Pathways family, and they were, they were very loving as well. So I then was sitting there and just waiting for the results, as I'm like praying to God and asking him, please, help me not have any fractures or breaks. I want to continue this journey, and he knows how much I love praise dancing. I don't know if you guys know that. But I love praise dancing, and that's something that, brings me closer to God in our relationship and things like that. And I would still praise and worship the Lord whether I was paralyzed or not, God forbid, but it was difficult for me to even comprehend it or think about that in that moment. So, I finally spoke to the pastor. He screamed at me. not really screamed, but he reprimanded me, like, why did you do it and whatever, and are you okay, what do you need, all these things. And he was like upset and crying. But yeah, the results came for the CT scan. And you know what, guys, like, this is literally what the doctor said. He said, your back is a very, you have arthritis. Yes, I have arthritis on my neck and back, guys, on my shoulders. He was like, but your muscles in your back, were strong enough to sustain the bones, which is exactly what your body is supposed to be doing. And if you didn't think that keeping a healthy life, I'm going to say healthy because you don't really necessarily have to work out, but having your, bone structure, your muscles, your everything that's in your body healthy wasn't something that would be helpful, then I'm telling you now, because of the fact that I go to the gym and because of the fact that I take care of myself and I do physical therapy for my neck and shoulder and stuff like that, and my upper back, lower back, my back muscles were able to sustain the trauma, where my bones weren't affected, my ligaments weren't affected. And I was thankful to God. I was thankful to God that I found the gym that I found, because I've been in so many gyms and it's not the same. It hasn't, I found this gym about a year and a half ago before COVID, and I'm so grateful to them, because Heather, my coach, I know you guys hear me talk about her a lot, but Heather, my coach, has been helping me through this journey of, weight loss and toning and everything, because of my health, like I said, I'm a military veteran, so there's a lot of ailments that I have, and she's been helping me through all these things, and I'm thankful. But because she's been helping me and because I've been disciplined, obviously God first, but because I have been obedient in the way that we're supposed to take care of our temples lately, and our temples is our bodies, I had no fractures and no breaks, and I was giving God the glory. And I called the pastor and I let him know, and he was happy. And the kids, I told them, and I told my Fit Body Bootcamp family and my Inner Pathways family, and I told everything what happened, and I told my sisters, and I'm just grateful, guys. Like, listen, I know that things happen and they might be scary at the moment. Things happen and you might not even understand as to why they happen. But afterwards, if you see the structure now, if you see it now, amen, it is so beautiful. And I'm grateful and thankful to God for new beginnings. And I'm grateful and thankful to God that this happened to me and not anybody else. So yeah, that's my story time. And sorry I got choked up in the middle. I didn't think I was going to, but it's just so overwhelming how when you're doing God's work, sometimes things are going to happen that you may not expect it to happen. And it's a little bit negative that you see it in your life, but he always has a better plan for you, I promise. His plans are perfect. And I'm grateful to God that I'm here, and I'm grateful to God for, the pastor and everybody else who's been working on the land so hard to bring that structure to, to code and to do things that, to do it the right way. But I love you guys, and that's my story time. I hope you guys enjoy it. Just be thankful that God has you in his hands, and that you're able to wake up today, amen, because a lot of people weren't able to. And be thankful and grateful that you have limbs and you can move about. For a person like me who has all these ailments, I'm grateful that I can move the way that I move, which is why I praise dance to the Lord, amen. So thank you guys. I love you. I'll see you next time.